Okay. Hello, hello, hello. Hope everybody is doing well today. I am hoping people can see me today, and I'm hoping people can hear me today because the last few times we've done this, we have not been successful in getting this to work the way we want. Hello, hello, hello. And we're still not. Okay, we should be better now. So, anyways, I hope everybody can hear me. Hope everybody can see me on here. Just give me a second here to get myself situated rightly or wrongly. That. Okay, so anyways, if you can do me a favor and just let me know in the chat box that you can hear me, that would be great. You can put any questions you have. If you're watching me on Zoom, you can put those in the chat box on Zoom, and I'll be happy to answer them for you there. And if you want to, or on the Q&A box, either one will work. And on YouTube, the exact same thing. You put them in the chat box, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have there. Give me one more second here. I just want to make sure I've got everything set up the way that I want. Hang on one second. I keep trying to get this right, and I keep having trouble getting this right. Okay, and it's still not working the way that I want. Lovely. Okay, one day I'm going to get this figured out. And I still don't have it figured out at this point, which is massively, massively frustrating for me. I thought I had it today, and I still don't. Let me see if there's a way that I can do this that I'm just not familiar with here, that will hook these things up. I thought I had it. Damn it. Still don't. I really, really apologize for this. This is just vexing to me why I keep having all this trouble with doing something that should be so simple. And yet here we are, this is keep having the same problem each time. So my apologies, for this. Just isn't working the way that I want, and I don't know why. So anyways, with that, nope, it's just not there. It's not hooking up. Damn. Okay. All right. Well, hopefully people will find me because we are on YouTube. It's just a matter of where we are on YouTube. And hopefully people will find me there. And you can definitely find me. There's no question about it. I have no idea. No idea. I'll have to figure it out afterwards. Okay, anyways, for those of you who are here, I am going to, it looks like we have because of my problems, anyways, with doing this, the group is smaller than we'd like. And it is massively annoying to me that this is happening the way that it is, but so be it. So anyways, if you have questions for me, just put them in the chat box, put them in the Q&A box, and we will get started here immediately and figure it out. I think I'm going to try and put a message into people who are trying to watch me on the other one. Okay, anyways, let's get started here. My apologies again for what's been going on, and we'll get it fixed one of these days. So anyways, let's go. So I have a bunch of questions, here to answer, and I'm just going to go in order. And then if you have questions for me, put them in the chat box, either on Zoom or on YouTube, and I will happily answer your questions. So, or the Q&A box for that matter, either one will work. So anyways, let's go. So the first question is from John. Can I incorporate in Delaware, but operate outside the United States? So obviously, John, I'm not a lawyer, but I will do my best to answer this question because I think it's a fairly straightforward question. And the answer is yes. You can incorporate in Delaware, even if your company is operating outside the United States. But, and here's the most important but, you want to hire a lawyer to get this one right. So don't screw around with this stuff. Spend the extra money, get it done right, whatever the legal issues are. I'm not exactly sure what the particulars are, but there are plenty of companies that do something like what you're describing and make it work. I don't know whether you have to form a US entity to do it or whatever, but it's a fairly straightforward process. But get a lawyer who's done this before to help you through the process. Okay, so that is John's question. Drew asks, I am a pre-revenue startup. I am using, what is this? I am using growth. Okay, growth on my startup, growth expectations on my startup, growth expectations on my startup supplied by an external firm. I'm using software, to determine what my growth should be. Is this a good idea? Drew, I'm going to be very blunt and honest with you. This is a horrifically bad idea. It's a, to be extremely blunt, it is a you'll get laughed out of the room idea if you present to serious people this way. It won't work. You need to come up with your forecast. You need to figure out what's doing based on the market. You need to develop your financial model of whatever your business might be, no matter how bad that model is. You have to do it. It cannot be just, I'm going to plug this into some software and it's going to tell me, what the answer is here. No, 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 no. Do something bottoms up. That's the way that I would do it. Estimate how many customers you're going to have, what the revenue per customer is going to be, how quickly you're going to attain these customers month by month. That's your first forecast. And then I would repeat this process every month. That's how you get infinitely better at forecasting. Don't do what you're describing here. Please don't do this. This is just a horrifically bad idea, personally. So I would not do this at all. So anyways, that's my thought on that one. Second. Okay, good. All right. So anyways, that's what I would do. So the next, by the way, if you have questions for me, either place on Zoom, if you're watching on Zoom, put them in the chat box, the Q&A box. If you have them on YouTube, put them in I think it's in the chat for YouTube, and I will answer your questions. Don asks, what are your thoughts on a customer that wants to invest? What are the pros and what are the cons? Well, I think that's a great question. And they're mostly pros. You're getting money from a user of your product, which is good. There are many ways to structure an investment like this. It can be anything from just, customers prepaying for their product, which is a fine way to go. By the way, you can do something like that. And that will work. You can prepay. That is perfect. So go ahead and prepay. Have them prepay. That's a great way to do it. Or if you want to have them invest, that's what's called a strategic investment. Customers who invest typically are what are called strategics. And the one thing you have to watch out for are the terms in an investment like this. in that you do not want that customer who might be a potential buyer of the company at some point in time to have what's called a right of first refusal. Because a right of first refusal puts a high point on the price of the company when you try and sell it. You want to do what's called a right of notification instead. When you do agreements like this, I'm going to go back to what I was preaching earlier. Get a lawyer. Don't screw around here. Get a lawyer to help you with these agreements who's done these type of agreements before. It's the smartest way that you can do them. Smartest way. Okay, let's see what we got here. Hang on a second. Okay, if you have questions for me, again, put them in the chat box or the Q&A box if you're watching on Zoom, the chat box if you're watching on YouTube. So I hope that helps you, Dawn. That's the smartest way to do this, in terms of that type of investment. Let's see, next question is from Antonio, who asks, can you provide me with a sample license agreement? The answer is no, I will not provide you with a sample license agreement. We got a lot of lawyery kind of questions. That's so broad. You're going to get yourself in trouble. I'm sure you can do a ton of research online and find sample license agreements. I can almost guarantee it that you will be able to find sample license agreements online. Now, whether they're good or bad or indifferent, I have no clue. Buyer beware when you're doing something for free. So what would I do if I was in your shoes? I would do the following, I would get a lawyer to help me with this. It's not going to cost you a ton of money. There are license agreements are kind of boilerplate, but you got to know what you're licensing. So that's my answer to that question. Okay, next question on our list. Mahesh asks, when is it a good time to consider director, and he calls it D&O, which is shorthand for director and officer insurance for a tech startup with no revenue? When should you do insurance? In other words, now what's the point of doing director and officer insurance? Well, it's to protect the board of directors and officers of the company. These are vice presidents, C-level people in the company, and the chief executive and the president. They are there to protect them from being sued personally. Now, what do they not protect you from? Well, they not protect you from doing illegal acts. So you do something illegal, you're going to get screwed on something like this. So I would be careful with that. So when's the right time to do this? Well, if you have no board of directors, you really don't need to do it. If you have no investors per se, you really don't need to do it. It's when you start getting to the point where you have more serious investors, when you start having angel investors who are on the more serious, so not just your uncle and your friends, that's when I might consider doing this. When I get venture capital investment, you can just be guaranteed they're going to demand it because they don't want to get sued. So it's going to happen one way or the other. So that's part one of Mahesh's question there about when you should consider doing this. And then what other types of insurance do we need to protect their personal assets? Well, to protect their personal assets, the fact that hopefully when you incorporate a company, that's the idea of incorporating a company, be it an LLC, an S Corp in the United States, or a C corporation, whatever it might be, and whatever the corporations are, I would imagine in Europe and across the world. The idea of this is that your assets, personal assets, and the company's personal assets are two separate things. So therefore, it makes it very difficult for me to go sue you personally. Now, again, unless you've done something illegal, that's the D&O insurance piece. But even D&O insurance, if you've done legal things that will protect you, typically there are carve-outs in insurance like this to protect you from illegal things, and not protect you from doing illegal things. Because why should an insurance company, if you're going to go do something like embezzle funds or whatever, why should you be protected from that? You shouldn't be, because it's illegal. So the other type of insurance that you're likely going to want to get at some point when your company gets bigger. And again, if you get venture funding, it'll almost be demanded. So it's called Keyman Life Insurance. And typically in a startup, there are typically two people who will get Keyman Life Insurance. And that would be the CEO and the chief engineer, chief scientist, CTO, VP engineering, that person, the technical lead and the CEO. Those two people will get Keyman Life Insurance of some sort. So I hope that answers your question, Mahesh. Okay, on to more questions. If we have more questions, you can put them in the chat box, Q&A box if you're watching me on Zoom, or you can put them in the chat on YouTube. Okay. Okay, Maggie asks, what is the importance of a strong advisory panel in a lean co-founding team? Well, I have a general thing about advisory boards, advisory panels, and that is usually they're tremendously overrated. Most of the time, you don't need them. They don't provide much. And if you're looking at this and saying, well, this is a way that I'm going to help raise my money, investors are onto that game. So it's not really going to help you. Now, the carve outs to that, the caveats, so to speak, where that's not true, are if we are trying to, if we have somebody who's just such a massive name, in your industry, somebody that it's like, wow, this person's involved with your company. Okay, that makes a difference. So that's when you would do it just for namesake. Now, for non-namesake, the general rule is the person has to be adding value. If you're just trying to do this because somebody told you it's on the list of things that you're supposed to do to start a business. And by the way, when I was first starting my company, I thought a lot of these same things. So we all kind of learn this thing, by learning from others, by asking questions just like you're asking today. The answer is only if these people are going to add value. So use that simple test. If they're going to add value to you by being advisors, significant value, then great. Have them help you. They're not going to make a lot of money, but have them help you. That's what I would do. So I hope that answers your question, Maggie. Okay, let's see what we've got. Maggie's got a bunch of questions on here. Next question, there's a question about non-tech co-founders in the age of AI coding bots. I have no idea what that's about, so I'm not going to answer that one. The next question, also from Maggie, is we are operating a global agency with an ARR of around $300,000. Okay, good for you. Transitioning the same service to a software solution. Does this count as traction? Essentially the same service is being required. Well, yes and no. I mean, you have traction with product one, which is what you're doing today, but product two is unproven because you don't have any traction with that product. So until you prove that that product can sell, and if that's the direction the business is going in, then it has some positive things, but doesn't have a hell of a lot of positive things. So it's not a great thing, I would tell you. It's not horrific, but it's not great either. So that's what you get, with that. Okay, let's go on to the next question here. NB asks, sorry, I'm laughing at the question because it is a loaded question. NB asks, what are the ways VCs can hurt an early stage company? Well, I just did a video on this that you can watch. Literally, I don't know, it was a week or two ago or something like that. It was posted on this exact subject of bad investors. So you can watch that video and you can learn you can learn from what I'm saying here, about that. There are so many things VCs can do to hurt a company. Look, here's the reality. Most VCs are not out there to destroy you. They're not evil. However, they're like in any business, there are a sliver of people out there that are evil. And part of your mission as a CEO is to avoid these people at all costs. You don't want to have these people involved with your company, because when they're involved in your company, they can bring you to your knees and they can destroy your company if you're not lucky, quite frankly. So you want to be super careful, to avoid these companies, but they can destroy your company completely. That's the answer. So that's what you want to avoid. So that's the worst thing that they can do. They can destroy the company. They can throw out the CEO. They can do numerous bad things. They can withhold funding. They can meddle. There are millions of bad things a bad VC can do. So you want to avoid them. Okay, Maggie asks, how often do you have these sessions? Typically every week, even though next week we will not have one, but typically every week, and I switch up the times so that we can get different audiences involved and they can have the ability to participate in what we're doing. Okay, Vishnu asks, is it worth reaching out to a founder who has been working on a similar startup and also you're working in the same niche is I think what you mean, but are from different countries, and the other company founder started to expand his business in your company, in your country? Okay, then this keeps going. Okay, this is getting more confusing as we go. And you know that there are many things which can be done better and make more money for the business as you've been in the field for years. So you reach, that's all I've got. Okay, so anyways, well, there's always competition. What you're saying is, should I reach out to a direct competitor of mine who's in a different country? Maybe, maybe not. I mean, what's your goal? Is your goal to partner with this competitor? Is your goal to purchase this competitor? Is your goal to be bought by this competitor? You have to think about what your goals are before you talk to somebody like this. So it all depends upon what you're trying to do, whether or not it makes sense to reach out to a direct competitor. If I'm on the other side of that conversation and somebody reaches out to me who I'm directly competing with, and I've had this happen to me, I'm going to think hard about what's in the best interest of my company. That's it. And if it's in the best interest of my company to talk to you, I'll talk to you. If it's not, I won't. It's that simple. So, and you have to also remember that, there's going to be a little bit of paranoia. Why are you reaching out? What are the issues? Blah, blah, blah. So I'd be careful with that one. Personally, maybe it's a good idea, but I wouldn't know unless I went in depth with you. There are limitations what we can do on a YouTube call, essentially, on a webinar type format, and that's probably hit the limit on this one. Sorry, I can't be more direct on that one. Okay, any questions you have, if you're watching me on Zoom, you can put them in the chat box for me. If you're watching, or the Q&A box, if you are watching on YouTube, you can put them in the chat area. And maybe it's because it's the 4th of July week here in the United States, but right now we have no questions, which is really interesting. Never had this happen before. So maybe, I don't know, maybe it's my technical screw ups here that are causing all of this. So anyways, just double check on my other device here and make sure that there are no other questions. We do have a couple more, I think. Maggie asks, okay, here we go. A few more things. It's so weird. Get different things on different devices. Okay, Maggie asks, what's the best way to position this in a pitch deck regarding the traction area? We are operating a global agency with ARR. Okay, it's the same thing. Okay, same question I got before. Okay. Okay. Don asks, what are my 4th of July plans? Well, to spend them with my family. So that's my 4th of July plans, spend them with my wife and daughter. I'm sure we're gonna have a lovely time. Thanks for asking. Hopefully all of you will, if you're here in the United States. If you're in the UK, down with the British. Uh, and anyways, enjoy your 4th of July wherever you are. Okay, Archibald, or no, it's not Archibald, it's Ari Chad with Frank, who asks, how do I let go of a co-founder who is not studying and who's not providing, I think is the right word here, providing any value to the company, but was vital financially to all the conceptualization of the startup? Okay, well, the black and white answer is, it's like firing anybody. You let them go with class and grace is my basic rule. That's what you do. Now, I think what you're really asking is, what do I do about the equity piece of it? Well, it's whatever equity they vested at this point. That's what's happened. It sounds like it's very early on. Hopefully you had a vesting schedule for the equity. I do find a lot of people don't do this, which can be really scary, yet it can be worked out and can be negotiated out in terms of what they get. So anyways, it should just be a fairly simple equation. So if you've split, let's say that it's a 60-40 split between you and your co-founder, and the co-founder is typically a vesting schedule would be over a 4-year period with a 1-year cliff. If it's before 1 year, you could argue that this person deserves nothing. But if you want to be generous, then you could say, okay, that's essentially 10% for the full, if this person lasted the full year, just prorate it. So if they've done 1 month, then that's 1/12 of 10%, which is what, 0.08% or something, whatever it might be. That's what I would do. Something really simple that's fair. And again, it seems like a lot of lawyery kind of questions today. Again, you might need a lawyer to help you with this one, to negotiate it. So if you do, so be it. Okay, then the same person, Archad, with Frank. Am I better off with the VC or private investors who simply believe in the company's scalability? Well, it doesn't matter whether they're VCs or private investors. They better believe in your scalability, whomever they are. And just for the record here, raising money is hard. It is not a given just because you want to raise money that there's going to be somebody who's going to want to give you the money. It's not easy to do these things. It is difficult. It is challenging. It's not a gimme that you're going to be able to raise money. So just remember that. Okay. Okay, then the same person, got a lot of questions from you, asks, what do I offer an individual that is being invited strictly as an advisor to my startup? Okay, well, that is hard to answer without knowing particulars. The typical rate for an advisor, if they're just giving their name, if they're a known person, they're just giving their name and they're not really going to be involved, is they might get 0.25% of your company vesting over typically 2 years. That would be a typical advisor agreement. If the person is well known, they might get 0.5% over that same period. And also, if they're much more involved, they might get 0.5%. Those are the typical numbers. Okay, next question. Let's see what we got. Okay, here's a great question on patents. Okay, I'm going to go to Maggie, a little bit out of order here, but we'll do it this way. Is it essential to get a patent prior to pitching a VC, seeing that there will be numerous iterations to the code until we reach product market fit? UK here, we love the USA, that's good to hear. Thank you, Maggie. We love the UK here, at least in my part of the world too. So there's that. And the answer to your question is patents are not necessary. Patents for early stage startups are highly, highly, highly overrated. I would never tell somebody don't get a patent if you have something patentable. However, if you think about this logically, you have no money. You have no real ability to enforce something at this stage. So patents at the beginning are defensive. They're for defense. As time goes on, they'll be for offense, but for now, they're just defensive. And you have to really think strategically about where you want to file patents to. As a VC, do VCs really care about patents? No, they do not. They really don't, because they recognize just what you said. Things are going to iterate. They also recognize it's very difficult to enforce a patent early stage, and they don't want you spending money, trying to enforce patents. They want you developing things and building the moat around your business. So I hope that answers your question. Okay, let's go on to the next question on our list. Okay, is it worth it to start a company in a very competitive market, even though you have a clear advantage, knowing that it can be copied within a short period of time and cannot be protected by intellectual property rights or patents as its software? Okay, well, I don't think that really matters. Software, I mean, it's just like anything else. I mean, it's the difficulty of doing it. If what you're telling me is that there's no real advantage you have, and it's easy. I mean, this is the thing you have to figure out. How easy is it to do what you're doing? If it's super simple to do what you're doing, then I would question, why are you doing it? Because then anybody can do it. It doesn't matter whether it's patented or not. Now, the issue of going into a crowded market space is not necessarily a killer. The most valuable company I'm working with now, which is worth well over $1 billion, is in a market space with a huge number of public and private direct competitors. And yet they've been able to carve out a unique space. How did they do it? They did it by being unique in a differentiated way. They came up with something, they came up with a unique way to solve the problem. Interesting enough, was patentable. Not that the patents mattered for the reason that I previously stated, but that's what's allowed them to be successful, is they came up with something unique and different. So what it's almost like an oxymoron what you're presenting, because you're saying on the one hand, we've got something unique. On the other hand, we're saying, oh, anybody can do it. So it's the second part, really ask yourself the question, how easy is it to do what you're doing? I firmly believe anybody can do anything. And that if you're good at doing this, there's probably likely somebody else out there who can do the exact same thing as you. That's almost guaranteed that there's somebody else out there that can do it. But usually it takes a huge amount of focus, skill, and ability to do it. If you've got a great A+ team and they're working on this, then it's not going to be so easy to do the exact same thing as you. It's doable, but it's going to take focus and effort to do it. Okay, let's see what we got. Okay, Vishnu asks, I was looking for a partnership with the competitor startup, and my main concern is if you reveal business secrets, then they would no longer need you. Since you are no one and not established, how to deal with this? Yes, you hit the nail on the head. That's the challenge of working with a larger partner. You have to be careful, because yes, you're almost by definition going to have to reveal things. Now, typically you'll have some sort of non-disclosure. You'll have a non-disclosure agreement of some sort. You'll do non-disclosures. I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought for a second there, but you'll have a non-disclosure agreement, which will protect you to some degree. But you have to be careful when you're revealing what you're doing, because there's always this possibility of this happening. And it's hard to enforce NDAs for the same reasons that it's hard to enforce patents. So you have to be careful when you're doing this. You have to think about, do you have something, that is going to be something that this company is really going to need, and you're going to help jumpstart them to be able to do something. And that's kind of what you want, is you want that situation where you're able to provide this huge value, for people. And that's why they're going to want to work with you. And then in return, you're going to get money, equity, support of some kind, maybe distribution channels, whatever. There are all sorts of different agreements that you can do. It's just a matter of what makes sense and whether or not they're going to work out. Most of the time, these agreements don't work out. That's the other thing I would tell you from experience. So it's buyer beware. I hope that helps. Okay, let's see what we got. Okay. Maggie asks, based on a proof of concept, I believe it is termed a concierge user testings. Can we go straight to seed stage? Even though we will be building out the software at this stage, the answer is maybe, maybe not. I can't answer without knowing a lot more about what you're doing. The only way you'll find out is by trying. That's it. And it's kind of funny, we're talking about seed stage. I have I believe my last video that I did was on seed stage investing. So you could watch that to give you some sort of an idea on this. There's also a video I did on traction several weeks ago that was on the same subject about how much traction do you need. Maybe that gives you an idea. The answer is more revenue always helps. The more revenue you have, the more proof points you have, the easier it's going to be to raise money from larger investors. Whether you can get somebody to jump without that revenue is an I don't know without knowing in depth what you're doing. And it's going to vary by market to market in terms of the answer there. So I'm sorry I can't be more specific about that. All right, let's go to our next question if we have one. Okay, I don't see any more questions. Let's see. I don't see any more questions here. I don't see any more questions here. Yeah, no more questions in either of the places. So I'm going to give everybody a little bit of time to ask more questions. I'm going to drink a little bit of water. I thought I had this thing figured out. For those of you who are watching me on YouTube, I am just struggling with how to get my Zoom stream on the right YouTube on the right YouTube on the right YouTube video feed. For whatever reason, I thought I had it this time, and I still managed to screw it up. So next time, hopefully, I'll have it right. So, anyways, if you have any questions for me, put them in either one of the chat boxes for me. I'll stay on for just a little bit more, and then we'll call it a day. Have you tired OBS? Okay, that didn't make sense. Okay, all right, and then it got deleted. So anyways, okay. Looks like we have no more questions. All right, so with that, I am going to call it a day for everybody. So going once, going twice, sold. We are done for the day. Thank you, everybody. Have a great holiday here if you're in the United States. And we'll talk again. At least we'll do this again in 2 weeks from today. A few hours later, 6 o'clock on the East Coast. We'll do this again. All right. Thank you, everybody. Oh, there's a question. Maggie says there's a question at the last second. Here we go. How can one reach you directly? Go to my website, www.brettjfox.com. And if you're looking for one-on-one coaching with me, there are multiple options there. That's the most expensive option, is to work with me one-on-one. That's extremely expensive, and I only work with a select group of people one-on-one. The other option is you can go. I have a free community on the school website, and there should be a link to that on my page here on YouTube. And then there's a paid community if you're looking. I have office hours there every day, and you can talk to me there every day in my paid community, and that is a lot more interactive. And you'll be able to go even faster in what you do. That costs $99 a month. It's a great bargain right now for the people in that community. I'd highly, highly, highly recommend it. in terms of what to do if you're willing to spend a little bit of money. It's a great way to go fast. The courses in there as well. So those are the two ways you can talk to me. Okay, there's another question here. So I've sent mails, but no direct response so far. Okay, can't answer that in terms of what the mails are. I typically respond to almost all the email that I get. It may take me a couple days to get to them, but I do respond typically, unless it's something crazy. Okay, Michael asks, are there differences in VC styles in San Francisco and outside? Yeah, I think there are. And again, this is going to vary from VC. I think, the general thing is every VC is a little bit different from the other. Depending upon stage, it will differ. Depending upon geography, which is what you're asking, it will differ. So, and also there's some VCs that focus on different markets than other people and different types of products than other people. So you have to look at all of this, when you are trying to find a good investor, when you're looking for things. Typically, what I would say if I was to look at the different regions of the world, and this is a real generality, I think the United States VCs, especially the Bay Area VCs, tend to be, especially the early stage Bay Area VCs, tend to be more aggressive. In other words, they'll take more risk, but they want the reward to be bigger. But that's a super big generalization, in terms of the answer to the question. I think in Europe, they're more conservative, and I would definitely tell you from my dealings over in Asia that they're more conservative, but there are always variations. It's always going to be easier for you to raise money from people closer to where you are. The closer in proximity, the easier it's going to be. That's the general rule. And you want people that are, if you're an early stage startup, you're looking for investors that invest in early stage startups, not late stage startups. It's going to be a waste of your time and their time. Okay. Oh, I see. He's asking about VC culture. Is the VC culture different in Bay Area versus other areas? I don't know. Probably is. I mean, I've dealt with VCs all over the world, in all different areas of the world. It varies from firm to firm, is what I would tell you. Okay. Any more questions for me? Put them in the live chat if you're watching me on YouTube. If you're watching me on Zoom, put them in the chat box or the Q&A box on Zoom, and I'll be happy to answer your questions. Okay. How much will an early stage seed investor invest? Well, you should watch my video. I talked about this in my video, actually. The answer is it's all over the map. I mean, it's if we're talking about seed stage investors, because seed stage investors, when you think about that's like first money in, beyond your friends and family. So that could be an angel willing to write a $10,000 check, all the way up to a venture capitalist writing like in my case, a $12 million check. It could be all over the map. But most I would say is a generalized rule. And this is a real generalized rule. It could be, it's like $100,000 or so, I would say. That's typically a first early round, but it can vary. So I think it's a matter of what can you do? I mean, more money is always better. So try and raise as much money as you can, is the general rule you should follow. Okay, any more questions for me? Put them in the Q&A box, put them in the chat box in either place on Zoom or YouTube. Either one will work great. And as I was saying, if you want more interaction with a bunch of CEOs just like you and you haven't signed up yet to my school community, Zero to Pitch, you can do that. It's easy, it's free. or a few questions that you get asked. And as long as you're a CEO, you'll get entrance in there. And it's a great community. It's very active already. It's growing very rapidly, which is pretty cool. And in there, we have these weekly Q&A sessions. You get priority if you're on Zoom, get your questions answered first if you're on Zoom, versus being on YouTube for this. So anyways, you have that, plus there are courses in there, plus you have the community you can ask questions of. If you want to go even faster and you really, really, really want to get moving quickly on your startup, and you want to work with an elite community of CEOs, and you want more access to me, and you want to be able to talk back and forth to me directly, then join my community, Zero to Pitch Gold, on School. And there's a link from one community to the other community right there on the About page. You can just click on it and join. It's $99 per month, and it's a great value. There are daily office hours in there, 1 hour of office hours, and you can go back and forth with me on whatever you want. And that is super. Plus, there are in-depth courses on there as well. There's a mastermind group in there as well. So there's a lot of different things that you get access to if you really want to get moving faster. So I highly recommend that too. Okay, let's see. The link to the community, I will post that. Once we are done today, I will post that in the comments below this. And you can also, should be able to find it on my site on YouTube. So you should be able to find that. I will post it as soon as we're done. Thank you for asking that, Maggie. Any other questions? Okay, going once. Going twice. Going 3 times. And I'm going to wait a minute because I know YouTube is a little bit behind us here on Zoom. Thank you. Okay, doesn't look like we have any other questions. Thanks, everybody. Have a great holiday. Take care. Bye.